June 1944, North Africa. German soldier Klaus Bergmann lay dying in an American field hospital. Propaganda had promised torture, a crude amputation, or death. What he got instead changed his life, and perhaps history. 3 days earlier, shrapnel tore through Klaus's thigh. Now, gangrene was setting in. The sickly sweet smell of rot filled his makeshift cot. Purple-black tendrils crept up his leg. Fever burned behind his eyes. Klaus was 23, terrified not just of losing his leg, but of what the Americans would do to him. German training films depicted them as barbaric torturers, experimenting on the wounded. But the reality of his capture was different. Pinned down near Kasserine Pass, wounded and alone, he expected a bullet. Instead, gentle hands lifted him. An American medic, barely 20, efficiently bandaged his leg, murmuring, "You're going to be okay, Fritz." No hatred, just tired professionalism. Morphine, clean water, an ambulance, an actual ambulance, to the field hospital. Klaus kept waiting for the promised cruelty. It never came. But what Klaus didn't know was that behind the scenes, the American medical staff had been fighting their own battle, not against Germany, but against exhaustion, shortages, and the brutal pace of the North African campaign. The tent hospital where Klaus lay was overflowing with wounded from both sides. Stretchers lined every corner. Nurses slept sitting up. Surgeons ate cold rations between operations. Every man and woman there was pushed to their physical and emotional limits. Yet, in that chaos, something remarkable happened. Some of the American wounded asked, "How's that German boy doing? The one with the leg?" Soldiers, who had just come from the front, still bloody and dazed, nodded quietly when passing Klaus's cat, acknowledging him not as an enemy, but as another young man caught in the same hell. One corporal even left a small tin of coffee near Klaus's bed, a gesture he never admitted to. Feverish and drifting in and out of consciousness, noticed these things, tiny acts of humanity that contradicted everything he had been taught. He began to understand something painful and profound. The people who were supposed to be his mortal enemies were saving his life, while the regime he fought for had fed him a steady diet of lies, fear, and fanaticism. At the hospital, the infection raged. Eddie, the medic, tried to reassure him. "You're in good hands. Captain Bradley, our best surgeon. He'll fix you up." Klaus knew fix him up meant amputation. He was 23, and his life was ending. Captain Robert Bradley, younger than Klaus expected, with tired but observant eyes, examined the wound. "It is severe gas gangrene," Bradley said in accented but clear German. "Standard treatment is amputation. Above the knee, you would survive." Klaus's heart sank. This was it. But Bradley continued, "I want to try something different, something new." He paused, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. "There's a drug, penicillin. It's an antibiotic. Very new, very rare, extremely limited supplies." Klaus was offered a choice, a safe, proven amputation for an experimental drug that might save his leg. But if it failed, he would surely die. Klaus, astonished, asked, "Why? Why waste it on me? I am the enemy." Bradley's response was simple. "You are my patient. I am a doctor. You need treatment." Later that night, as lanterns flickered in the dim tent and the desert wind hummed outside, Bradley sat alone at his desk, staring at Klaus's chart. He wasn't just treating a wounded soldier. He was fighting for the future of medical ethics in wartime. War tested morality in ways peace never could. Bradley knew that every time he chose compassion over hatred, he was drawing a line he hoped others would follow. His journal entry from that night, later discovered by his family, read, "If we lose our humanity in victory, then what exactly have we won?" Over the next 72 hours, Klaus witnessed American medicine firsthand. Every 4 hours, Lieutenant Sarah Collins, a trained Army nurse, injected the precious penicillin. It burned, but Klaus didn't care. Eddie brought him water, even a Hershey's chocolate bar his sister had sent. "My dad was captured by Germans in 1918, Eddie explained. He said, "They treated him decent. Soldiers are just guys doing a job. The real enemies are the ones who start the wars." Klaus was confused. Everything he'd been told about Americans was a lie. He overheard Bradley arguing with a colonel, insisting on continuing treatment for a German prisoner despite critical shortages. "He is my patient, sir. I started the treatment. We finish it." During his final recovery weeks, Klaus began helping nurses translate German labels on captured medical supplies. He spoke with American wounded around him. Some had lost limbs, some would never return home. Yet they joked, shared cigarettes, and talked about the future. Klaus realized these men weren't driven by hatred. They were driven by love for the people waiting across the ocean. The penicillin worked. The fever broke. The black and purple streaks receded. Klaus would limp, but he would walk. Before being transferred to a POW camp, Bradley offered his hand. "You can thank me by surviving this war, by remembering that enemies don't have to be monsters." Eddie drove him to the camp. "You know, my dad was right," he said. "You're just a guy. I'm just a guy. We should be drinking beer together, not shooting at each other." Klaus carried more than his leg from that field hospital. He carried truth. German POW diaries confirmed the pattern. Initial fear, then confusion, then the realization that American treatment was humane, often better than their own armies. Survival rates in American custody were over 99%. POWs had libraries, sports, orchestras. The U.S. wanted Germans to see democracy in action, even in captivity. Klaus was repatriated in 1946. He walked off the ship on his own two legs. He became a translator for American occupation forces. In 1948, he wrote to Bradley, "You saved my leg with penicillin. I wanted you to know I am walking. I am alive because of you. More than that, I am free." They corresponded for years. 1968, Klaus flew to Cincinnati to meet Dr. Bradley. He met Eddie Morrison, too, now running cheesesteak shops. They hugged like brothers. Klaus's story was repeated thousands of times. Former POS became key to rebuilding West Germany. By 1955, Germany joined NATO. Former enemies became allies. In 1994, Klaus said, "I expected amputation. I expected cruelty. I got compassion instead. That changed my life." At Bradley's funeral in 1996, Klaus whispered, "This man saved my leg and my soul." Klaus died in 2002. His final diary entry read, "My leg still hurts when it rains, but every step is a reminder. Americans saved me when they didn't have to. Treating the enemy with dignity built peace. It changed a life. It changed nations. It changed history."